Hello, and welcome to our ongoing series, Conversations With. Today, we're at the Corita Art Center in Los Angeles, California, where we'll be talking to Sasha Carrera, director of the Corita Art Center, about the life and work of Corita, also known as Sister Corita Kent. Well, thank you so much, Sasha.
Thank
you,
we
really
Clarissa.
Appreciate you being with us today on Conversations With. Now, let's go on with some questions about Sister Corita, or Corita. What distinguished her work in the beginning of her career?
Well, her very early works were this sort of neo-Gothic, iconographic, almost Byzantine-looking art. So she would do these very elaborate silkscreen prints of images depicting Bible stories. And that grew, this use of ordinary objects to explore extraordinary or spiritual matters. It developed more and more so that it wasn't just the depicted images, but it was words and phrases and slogans that she was then reinterpreting in spiritual terms.
Now, that was at the beginning of her career when she was still a nun.
That was, yes, that was started in the early mid-60s.
Now, she used silkscreen.
Yes.
Which was not exactly fine art.
She sort of shied away from the whole elitist thing of only a few people having one piece of art, and so she did silkscreen prints so that they could be widely distributed.
Later on, Corita began using more common images and words and symbols. Some people refer to it as pop art.
She talks about how mankind, we use religion and myths and fairy tales to sort of make sense of our lives and as almost a pattern for living. These things were then made in to talk about God, and put a tiger in your tank. To her it meant put the spirit in your tank.
Corita had a different vision for herself as an artist. What was she trying to accomplish?
Well, I think she was through and through a teacher. Her favorite saying was, "We have no art, we do everything as well as we can." That art and life are inseparable. We do everything as well as we can. Life is, in effect, a work of art. And she got to the point where she couldn't really separate her political activism and her strong beliefs in social justice from what she was producing in her art.
I understand that her art classes even became somewhat of an art happening, and there were different people visiting. What was that all about?
Well, she had this great man series, and she would invite seminal thinkers and innovators to come speak to the art classes. Buckminster Fuller described his experience visiting the college as most fundamentally inspiring experiences of his life.
So basically she was teaching people to see things in a different way.
Yes. A lot of her exercises were about closely looking, and it's finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, things that we might overlook otherwise.
According to Corita, what was the role of art in someone's life?
I think art and life were inseparable, but everyone I've ever spoken to talks about how she profoundly affected the way they lived and the way they approached life and the way they looked at life, living their lives as a work of art.
Now, at some point, Corita left the order. When did that happen?
In 1968, she took a sabbatical, and she just took a break. She went to Cape Cod and she visited some friends and decided not to come back.
Well, did her work then change that much?
Her work got much simpler, but she felt like it really wasn't simple because it was the culmination of everything that had gone before. So it became much more just colors, still with words, but not so much advertising slogans anymore.
And I understand that she produced a lot of work at this time.
She did. We have hundreds of watercolors.
Well, where can we see Corita's work today?
Today, you can always come to the Corita Art Center, which is on the campus of Immaculate Heart High School. We're in the community offices of the Immaculate Heart community. Currently, there are exhibitions going on in Berlin. San Francisco MoMA has just acquired a large collection. There are going to be shows coming to New York and hopefully to other venues around the country and around the world.
So in essence, Corita lives.
She certainly does.
Fantastic.